no high profile visits have taken place in Pakistan. They have felt kind of isolated diplomatically. SCO is the time when the Chinese Prime Minister will visit after nearly a decade. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also visiting. Pakistanis like to pretend that their economy is now like on the takeoff stage. It's far from there. It remains in an ICU. There are now serious concerns over uh, the security situation inside Pakistan. Pakistan is getting deeper and deeper, sinking deeper and deeper into a morass of its own making, and the SCO uh, is not really going to help. On 15th of October, Pakistan is going to hold the meeting of uh, Shanghai Cooperation Organization heads of government in Islamabad. The Pakistanis have a lot of expectations with this particular meeting. They think it is, in a sense, their coming out party. They have felt kind of isolated diplomatically. No high profile visits have taken place in Pakistan. No multilateral forums have been held in Pakistan for many years now. There have been a few people, some heads of state who have visited, but uh, SCO is the time when the Chinese Prime Minister will visit after nearly a decade. The prospect of the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also visiting has enthused some Pakistanis. But although there is a sense of realism in Pakistan that uh, there is unlikely to be any major breakthrough with Dr. Jaishankar's visit, partly because Dr. Jaishankar himself has disabused everyone of the notion that there will be any bilateral meetings taking place with Pakistan during his visit to Islamabad. But even then, there is the prospect of the Russian Prime Minister coming to Islamabad, and of course other SCO members. So Pakistan is kind of enthused by this conclave which is going to take place, and they think that because with the IMF loan having come through, Pakistan is now in a position of revival from the pits in which they found themselves. Although I think, as usual, they're being over optimistic about their prospects. The economy is not quite out of the woods, even though the Pakistanis like to pretend that their economy is now like on the takeoff stage. It's far from there. It remains in an ICU. Probably it's not in a very critical condition, but that's also kind of temporary. It's not as though they are really out of the woods. So their economy requires intensive care, and there will be a lot of storms going forward. And even diplomatically, because they think that maybe uh, because they are going to be joining as part of the non-permanent members of the UNSC for 2 years from January. And a couple of other developments are taking place. So they think that diplomatically now they are in a position to punch way above their weight. Uh, but given the fact how reduced their weight is, even if they're going to try and punch way above their weight, if they don't get their nose bloodied, even then, I don't think that punching above their weight is going to be of much use to them. But this is the backdrop under against which the SCO summit is being organized, and the Pakistanis have a lot of hopes attached to it. There are now serious concerns over uh, the security situation inside Pakistan, and the Pakistanis are desperate to make sure that nothing really goes, nothing really happens that could upstage this SCO meeting on which they have placed so much faith. But a lot is happening in Pakistan, even though Pakistan's mainstream media, which is I probably would rate it a shade better than the Chinese state controlled media. That is what the Pakistani mainstream media isn't reporting uh, uh, as starkly what is happening on the ground as they should be reporting. So a lot of the information which is now coming out of Pakistan is not coming from the mainstream media, which used to be fairly vibrant at one point of time. But I think it's full of very compliant media houses, and even more compliant and biased so-called journalists who pretend that they've done nothing in their life except journalism, but actually most of their life they've done everything but journalism. But that's a separate topic altogether. The thing is that the media is not really reporting uh, with the kind of alacrity what is actually happening on the ground. A couple of days back, we saw pitched battles taking place near Islamabad when the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf was agitating, uh, in favor of their incarcerated leader Imran Khan, and the so-called democratic government of Shahbaz Sharif and his interior minister, who are basically puppets of the Pakistan army, cracked down and prevented a political meeting from taking place in Islamabad, and literally Islamabad was like a siege, a city in siege, a capital city which was under siege. So there was a serious crisis which emerged out there. Pitched battles were being fought. The air was full of tear gas shelling from both the people who had come from KP, much of them who had come from KP. Uh, they were tear gas shelling the Islamabad police, vice versa. So it always gave the image of some kind of a civil war apparently breaking out between KP and Islamabad. Then the chief minister disappeared. He's probably playing a double game um, with Imran Khan and with the army. But he disappeared and then he reappeared magically, made some fiery speeches. But by and large, the impression which everybody got was that Pakistan as capital city is facing an invasion. It's almost like a kind of civil war which is likely to break out. Now, this particular episode happened, and then followed by certain developments in Lahore where the PTI was agitating. So, and the fact that the government has called out the Pakistan army and handed over security of the entire city in not only in Islamabad but also the entire security in Punjab has been handed over to the Pakistan army, at least for the duration of the SCO meeting. Now, uh, now, now clearly when the army comes out and you see, army convoys rolling out on the streets of Islamabad, if you are sitting outside Pakistan, it doesn't really give you a very good impression of Pakistan. Actually, it gives you the correct impression of Pakistan, but even so, if I was to be charitable and to Pakistan, then I would probably say that it doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence in the ability of the government in Pakistan to be able to manage the security affairs. But the Pakistan army seems to have come out in full force. But look, frankly, even the way the Pakistan army and the Pakistan Interior Ministry handled the political agitation of Imran Khan, uh, it only reaffirmed how clumsy and amateurish, how unprofessional they are in handling these political agitations. And I'll come to that in a bit because there are other political developments taking place which have a very grave bearing on the security situation inside Pakistan. Uh, but the fact that they were not able to even stop with all this demonstration of force, the Pakistan army and the security forces in Pakistan were not able to stop Imran Khan's stormtroopers from storming into Islamabad. and cocking their snook at the interior minister, who was talking very bombastically about how he will ensure that nothing will be allowed into Islamabad, and there will be no talks with the PTI. How his nose was literally rubbed in the dust, and so much so that despite declarations that there will be no talks with Islamabad, there are reports inside Pakistan that the military establishment and some of their go-betweens have gone and pleaded with Imran Khan to call off his stormtroopers, at least until uh, SCO is over. So they've been pleading with him, but I think Imran Khan also knows that, listen, this is an excellent time uh, to push the military establishment, which is the real ruler in Pakistan, to push it to a point where it's left with no feet to stand on, and to make a demonstration of force, which of course uh, will have reverberations around the world. There has been a major terrorist attack in Karachi. There has been a suicide bombing, which has been claimed by Baloch freedom fighters, the BLA, the Baloch Liberation Army, um, and one of its militant, very militant wings, most effective militant wing, the Majid Brigade. They have claimed that the suicide attack that took place in Karachi airport, and the attack was aimed at a convoy carrying some Chinese engineers and workers who have been working in Pakistan. And it happened near the Karachi airport. Now, this was a massive attack, although it is claimed that only two Chinese engineers were killed in this attack, and one other person, presumably the suicide bomber. There were a couple of people, maybe a dozen or more people, who are claimed to have been injured. But we saw that nearly a dozen cars were destroyed in this particular attack. Vehicles were destroyed because of the blast. There has been some footage of cars burning. So obviously, it was a major attack, and the fact that it happened in a high security zone in Karachi makes it even more critical. But if you look at the newspapers that were published in Pakistan the next day, it was like, an odd criminal incident has happened in some nook and corner of the country, and not an attack of very great significance. Now, clearly, the Pakistan army has tried to control the narrative and the public discourse, and the international narrative around what is happening in Pakistan. So they've instructed this so-called independent media in Pakistan to play down this news, to not talk too much about it, to not give it any degree of prominence, even though it was a very big news, what had happened, partly because it reflected upon how bad the security situation is in Pakistan. It also reflected on the capacity and the reach of some of the militant organizations which are fighting against the Pakistani state. And we already know that in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and the Pashtun dominated areas of Balochistan, the Taliban footprint has been expanding. In fact, the Taliban control has been expanding. The TTP, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, is very, very effective out there. They've taken control of many areas. We know that their extortion networks are back. We know that the police is not able to patrol or even go out of their police stations after dark. We know that police stations and military camps have been attacked and are being attacked. Military convoys have been attacked. Just recently, in a single day, almost a dozen, more than a dozen, in fact, Pakistani security forces were killed in two or three incidents. So we know all of this is happening as far as the TTP is concerned, and now you suddenly have a situation where even in Balochistan, there are attacks against Pakistani security forces which are taking place on a daily basis. But then, for that entire militant landscape to shift into uh, what can be called mainstream Pakistan, which is Karachi and Punjab, is a matter of very serious concern. And it becomes even a matter of even greater concern because there is no way. Look, the Baloch are only about 5% of the population of Pakistan. And the fact of the matter remains that the Baloch have been discriminated against by the Punjabis of Pakistan, and they have been marginalized. Which is one of the major reasons for their alienation. So we've had a situation in Pakistan where the Baloch are not really part of the ruling hierarchy. They are not people who have in places of critical importance. Uh, these are not people who have a whole lot of jobs in government or even quasi government organizations. For an organization like this to get precise information of the movement of Chinese, which presumably would be kept as a closely guarded secret, uh, and for them to be able to organize a suicide attack against a convoy like this, I think it speaks volumes for their capabilities, number one, and of the incompetence of the Pakistani security forces, number two. Uh, there are reasons to believe that there are of course some allegations by some Pakistani former soldiers that this was a false flag attack, partly to divert attention from the scenes of chaos and anarchy in Islamabad because of the PTI protest. So the Pakistan army tried to deflect it by doing an inside job. And the Chinese, in a manner of speaking, can be collateral damage. Where are the Chinese going to? The Chinese are now stuck in Pakistan. Their all-weather friend. Uh, they have investments in Pakistan which they cannot pull out immediately or at all, because the Pakistanis will simply say that, look, we don't have the money to pay you. When we have the money, it is that old Khaddam Hussein Rizvi logic that when we have the money, we will pay you back. Otherwise, we are not going to give you any interest. And if you ask for too much, well, here comes Gauri. There's that clip uh, which went viral a couple of years back. So that is the Pakistani attitude. So the Chinese are stuck. So yeah, if that's a bit of collateral damage, just too bad. Now that is a conspiracy theory that has been floated not by an Indian or by any other person. That's a conspiracy theory which has been floated by the Pakistanis themselves, and Pakistanis who were at one point of time very proud lackeys of the ISI, people who have been former members of the Pakistan army. So they are the people who floated this conspiracy theory. But even if you put that conspiracy theory aside, uh, it is a fact that an operation, a suicide bombing operation, cannot be done by flipping a switch. It requires a lot of preparation. There are at least 6 7 stages through which things have to go through before a suicide attack can be successfully launched, or even launched, forget successfully. And frankly, it cannot happen that you get information about 6 hours earlier that a certain convoy is going to move, and then you can rig a bomb, prepare a suicide bomber, and go and hit a particular target without any recce, without any preparation, like you're flipping a switch. It doesn't happen like that. So obviously somebody knew of these movements, somebody had informed people of these movements, somebody had adequate time to prepare such an attack, and finally this attack was launched. So there is an element either of leaks or of some kind of inside involvement in this particular attack, but everybody tried to cover it up simply because nobody wanted to embarrass the current military regime. Uh, and its civilian facade, which is ruling over Pakistan, as it's called, a hybrid regime. Nobody wanted to embarrass them, so everybody kind of played it down. But look, here is the problem. Now, this attack happened in Karachi, and it's not my case that an attack is imminent in Islamabad, but the fact remains that. Um, the security situation in Pakistan is very very suspect. I don't think either the TTP or, unless of course the Daesh tries to do something, we don't know. But then there are serious allegations that members of the ISK are basically uh, playing a kind of a double game and are in cahoots with the ISI, and Daesh is actually being used by the Pakistani deep state as a kind of an asset against their previous assets, which were the Taliban. And this has been speculated for almost a decade now. Ever since ISKP emerged in Pakistan, there have been allegations and speculation of the involvement of the ISI with the Daesh or ISKP, and the Taliban now openly blame Pakistan for involvement with the ISKP, and like I said, there are reasons. At least there are suspicions, I would say, that they are being used as a leverage against the Taliban. That if the TTP is the Taliban asset inside Pakistan, then Daesh is the ISI asset inside Afghanistan. Well, that's the suspicion, that's the allegation, that's the speculation. But the fact is that unless it's Daesh, uh, the the chances of either the TTP or the Baloch freedom fighters launching any kind of an attack, they might launch an attack to embarrass the Pakistan army. But I have serious doubts if they will try and harm any foreign delegate, because that's not really in their interest. Of course, the Baloch, for example, make no bones about the fact that they consider the Chinese to be part and parcel of the oppressive class, that they are the colonial settlers who have come into Pakistan to exploit Balochistan's resources and deny the Baloch their rights. So the Chinese, of course, are fair game as far as the Baloch are concerned. But I don't think either the Russians or any of the Central Asians, and I would have serious doubts if even senior Chinese political leaders would be targets. Indians, of course, are unlikely to be targets. Um, but I think in that sense, there's not going to be any danger to the delegates who are going. But I think it raises very serious questions about the security situation inside Pakistan, which is now going to go from bad to worse, because it's almost as though the Pakistani Punjabi elite is hell bent upon marginalizing and alienating the Pashtuns. So you have the Pakistani Punjabi leadership embolized by Asim Munir and by Shawaz Sharif and the Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi, who is a crony of Asim Munir and who has been foisted as the Interior Minister. He cannot get a dog catcher's vote if he was to stand for election, but he is the Interior Minister of Pakistan. And he is the eyes and ears of the Pakistan Army in Shawaz Sharif's cabinet. Now, this entire Punjabi mafia, which is ruling over Pakistan, uh, this seems to be hell bent upon pushing the country into a kind of a civil war to establish Punjab's dominance. Now, for example, at one level, they are fighting against the KP government, which is basically the PTI government, Pashtuns again. So, at one level, you have a conflict of that nature, which is taking place between the Punjabi establishment and the Pashtuns, who are ruled by a PTI government. At a second level, you have the Pakistani Punjabi establishment fighting against the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is again Pashtun. At a third level, we have suddenly seen that a very peaceful protest movement, which is only demanding constitutional rights and the basic right to life within Pakistan, the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, has been declared a terrorist organization and has been banned, and they are very defiant. Now, the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement of PTM, along with the Baloch, there is a kind of a nationalist resurgence taking place. We saw that a couple of weeks back in Balochistan, when the Baloch national gathering took place or was to take place in Gwadar, and it sent shockwaves throughout Pakistan with the kind of response that this movement got. And now you have a similar movement, which is the Pashtun National Jirga, which was being organized by the PTM, which has now been banned. So it seems that they are hell bent upon pushing these people, into an armed conflict with the Pakistani state. Even if the rest of the world is not interested in Pakistan descending into civil war, I wonder if the Pakistani Punjabi, with his myopic worldview, is hell bent upon in pushing its own country, or the country which the Punjabis control, into a kind of a civil war to establish their dominance in Pakistan. Uh, and it's against this backdrop that you will have an SCO summit taking place inside Pakistan, with an economy which is still pretty much in the woods. So I don't think it augurs very well for what is going to happen. Of course, the spin the Pakistanis will give is that everything is hunky dory. Pakistan has arrived in the world. It's now going to be the toast of the world. But I don't think that's the way it's going to play out. Pakistan is getting deeper and deeper, sinking deeper and deeper into a morass of its own making, and the SCO uh, is not really going to help. It's pointless putting a lipstick on a pig and making it look better. It doesn't really help. So I think that is the situation, that is the direction in which things are headed. Let's wait and see how the SCO summit takes place, and what is the outcome of that particular meeting.